What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Lunch Table Podcast. I got two Chumbas here, my sexy co-host Dylan, and we have a special guest, Jerome. We're reviewing Cyberpunk Edgerunners today. I'm Akram. We have a lot of thoughts to say. Please stick around towards the end of the video. Give us a like and share. It'll greatly help with the channel. But without further ado, I want to get your initial thoughts, guys. So let's start off with Jerome. Jerome, what did you think of Cyberpunk Edgerunners?
I think it was an ambitious take on the series that was needed for the overall franchise based off how the movie was perceived and from the shortcomings of the game. So ultimately, this anime was needed to bolster the states of both the franchise as a whole from a movie verse and from a game perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and Dylan, I know you're infamous for talking down on certain animes as well. I know you're a big fan of anime and stuff. So what did you think?
Well, first of all, Jerome, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great to have our anime correspondent back.
Yeah, man. Welcome back.
So it's glad to have you back for this episode. As for Cyberpunk, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was it's from World Trigger. You know, they make some very like stylized anime, and I feel like it was very appropriate because Cyberpunk is a very, very like stylized like aesthetic. So I think it's appropriate for what they did for the show. I think overall, I mean, we'll get into it. I didn't have too many gripes with it. I did like the pacing of it. You know, I was worried that maybe it would like drag on too long or be too short, but I think it was a nice pace. The soundtrack was really nice. I really enjoyed like most of the songs that they use in these episodes, and the opening intro. I love that opening. Yeah, it was really awesome. But what did you think, Akram?
Yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of anime, but I'll watch anything that has to do with my favorite properties. And I actually really did enjoy Cyberpunk 2077. And so I was really pleased to see so many locations being included and just a lot of like the world building and like different groups and stuff, like the animals in here. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Like I think it was solid. Right. And you were saying something, which I think you had a great point. You were saying that Netflix handles like game adaptations through anime the best. Right. And like live action's kind of shitty. Jerome came from he was actually in our Cowboy Bebop review. So maybe this is going to be canceled. Live action. Right.
Live action.
Right. And maybe this is going to be canceled. Every time we have Jerome here, something gets canceled. So we'll see.
Oh, okay.
That's a hot take right there. Right. So let's get right into the nitty gritty of it, right? So these characters, to carry the whole show forward. I don't know if this is canonical, but what did you guys think of the characters in general?
Dylan, you want to take this one first?
Well, the main character, David, see, I haven't played the game in so long, so I forgot most of what happened. I know you guys are probably more fluent in the game than I am. But I love his story. It feels like a very like Ghost in the Shell or like Blade Runner inspired story, and I like that so much because I like that like cyber like noir type of like style. And seeing like because in the first episode, I was wondering why he didn't have that cyberpunk look, I guess, where like he didn't have like all that augmentation, but then further down the road, you start seeing like he goes like a complete like 360. He like not just like physically he transforms, but also like his personality kind of changes too. So I thought that was really cool. The cyberpunk crew, I thought they were really cool. They felt like kind of like, I don't know, like caricatures of like, I don't know, characters you would see in like in that kind of like style too. Yeah, I thought, and what was her name, Lucy? She kind of reminded me of the main was the main character from Ghost in the Shell too. I forgot her name. But I like her story, and I like that she kind of like adds like a humanized element too, and she kind of like it's in this city full of corruption. They can have like dreams too. So what did you think, Jerome?
So overall, I want to pick up on your last point about Lucy. Her character felt the most grounded because of her reveal when it came time to her backstory. So it's like you saw her go from a kid that didn't have nothing, was promised a life of fortune and fame and a stable career, But come to find out, the adults tricked her and made her into something that she never wanted to be. So when all her friends was dying off left and right because of what they were doing to her, and she finally escaped, it made her, like, her whole presentation from episode 2 onward feel more impactful, because we now know the meat and potatoes of why she is and why she thinks the way she does.
Mm-hmm.
And since she's one of the co-main characters along with David, it fits because David's whole backstory was how first of all, he doesn't have a dad. His mom was doing everything under the sun to provide a better life for him, but that wasn't his dream. And if you didn't watch it, now you know. When the mom died, it's kind of like shaped his whole mindset to be his current version that we see as he progresses. So it's kind of like the two mains kind of mirrored each other, but still kept distance enough that you was like, I could see why they find solace in each other, because they needed what one didn't have, the other fulfilled their purpose. And then when you take off how the whole crew felt like, how can I say this? Like a Addams Family kind of connection. Like they was so much of a misfit group that they had no choice but to bond as family. And it just felt like
they had great chemistry.
Overall,
yeah,
they needed each other. It was bits and pieces of a puzzle that just felt like, from a viewer standpoint, that, oh yeah, I could be a part of this family and not be judged. So overall, I liked it.
Yeah,
from a character standpoint.
I think that's why it made it more sadder when a lot of the when some of the characters in the crew died off too. I think that made it more hurt because we grew up, we kind of like, saw this family together too.
I mean, it didn't help that they played that nut ass music that has you crying in the bathroom. Like,
I thought I watched it was like a comic kill or some shit.
Yeah,
but the deaths made sense in this one.
Right.
Yeah,
no shade.
They were really significant, and I think they were only significant because of the chemistry that was taking place between the characters and the poetry, and the need, right, to fill certain voids in certain characters' souls, and that's so interesting to see in a world, filled with robotic parts, right? They're still human in the inside, and they still have that human element, the heart. And it's very beautiful actually to see, and that's how it kind of moved me in a way, because I didn't expect to feel like this. And it does remind me of 2077 a little bit, because you kind of get this relationship with Johnny. Yeah, a little. That's how I felt. Like, it was really my favorite word, compelling, right? So yeah, but so there were different things going on. We also have the antagonists. For you guys, were they like just the run-of-the-mill type of antagonists, like they're just evil just cause? Or were you satisfied by some of their deaths? Did you think some of their like motivations were warranted? Did it feel authentic, is what I'm trying to ask you guys.
Yeah, so let's start off with Falco. His death, hands down, I enjoyed it. I cheered. I was on the bus screaming. Got looked at weird, but he deserved to die. I'm glad he died. If I could go in the anime and kill him myself, I'd kill him myself. Like, he should have died. His 3-eye having ass should have died. Like, I don't care. Like, Falco he basically instrumented the whole plot of this series.
Right.
Like, everything. This man was the Aizen of Cyberpunk. Like, he orchestrated everything to the T. Ultimately, he failed, but his ambitions to want to be the top dog, because let's be honest, no matter what profession you in, you want to be the king. Right. You want to be number one. You don't want nobody telling you can't, like, you can only get this scraps off the table. So his ambitions it was generic in nature, but it's something that you can relate to, because we all want that. Like, I'm sure you guys want to be the king of your platform. Y'all don't want nobody to tell y'all, oh, your podcast can only be here. So his motives was understandable. Asaka and Militech and all them, they're the run of the mill. They empower. They don't want to relinquish power. Why would I give my power to you? Especially if you're a street rat. That's just like if the Sultan from Aladdin was to give his whole kingdom to some random guy in some busted up shoes. Like nobody is doing it. So everybody's motive fit for the times that they in. I want to be king. I'm going to take what the king has. I don't want you to be king. So I'm going to trample over you. So everybody's motive from a villain standpoint, I can agree with. It's just Falco. If I had a shotgun, I'd clink that shit back, shoot him myself.
Yeah, I could understand that. And what about you, Dylan? What did you think?
Well, I think that was Faraway. I think Falco was the driver. I think you were talking about.
Was it?
Yeah, the 3-eyed guy was Faraway, the one who played or was voiced by Giancarlo Esposito.
Bro.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Well, we
all
know
this time
who
he was talking about Falco, the driver, like he was the real
poor
villain.
Falco.
All this time.
I mean, the driver is a co-conspirator. He could die too.
Like this poor guy, he's like always low key, like in a corner, like.
He said, "If I could go back, I'd kill him again."
I mean, let's be honest. If you're a driver, you can die too.
Right.
Wait, didn't he almost die?
Almost.
Ain't that man? Wasn't that man missing an arm at the end of this shit?
Oh, wait, I think he did.
Falco almost died. He made it away with the money along with Lucy. Spoiler.
Yeah, because wasn't my man missing a whole arm?
Yeah. Well, it was an augmented arm anyway. So it's not like he really lost any.
Bro, that still hurts. Like, expect his arm.
It cost him money.
You could buy that on Etsy or some shit in that world.
Yeah, through Eddie's.
They got Wish in that world,
right?
Fuck around and buy a whole arm off of Wish. Like,
you'll be so fucked. You'll be so screwed.
Fuck around and have a Joy-Con for an arm. Like,
shit.
Well, as for me, yeah, I agree. Faraway was a very, very stereotypical like corporate asshole. And I think it's so appropriate that they brought Cyber Gus in to voice him. But at the same time, this world is very treacherous. So it's like everybody's a villain in their own way, right? Because Kiwi even said like, don't trust, and even Maine, he told David, he was like, trust no one but yourself, right? So it's kind of like everybody's out for each other, and rightfully so, because this world is so fucked. Because like literally, look what happened with the mom. Like she got through the surgery, but because she didn't have like that fucking premium membership, John, she didn't make it, and I thought that was so fucked. But at the same time, that's why like I like this series and this world building too, because it feels like very close to reality too, especially if you come from a very like poor like background or middle class society, I guess. It's hard when like you don't have certain advantages that some people do. And David, especially coming from like I guess a disenfranchised background, he was trying. I can understand why the mom was trying so hard to like push him to like do well in school and stuff. But at the same time, I think he was just naturally like made for this kind of life too. Where he kind of has, it's kind of like the street smarts versus book smarts theory. It's like some people I think just do better earning like, I guess you could say, like a blue collar living versus like academics. So yeah, this world, I mean, even Lucy, like she betrayed David in like, what was it, the second episode or something. So it's kind of like you can't really trust anybody in this world, but I mean, the villains are, I mean, you could also say like, we also had Adam Smasher from the games too. He's like the quintessential, I guess, like villain for this. But how about you, Akram? Did any like characters stand out to you?
Well, yeah, for sure. Adam Smasher. He reminds me of like a more evil hound from Game of Thrones, just this little quips and stuff like that. He's scary as shit in the game, and here he was pretty scary as well. And again, I wonder if this game is canonical, because that'll be really cool to see, like maybe in a future game, because a lot of shit happened, especially in a city. Like that climax, there was so much shit that happened. Yeah, Giancarlo Esposito, whenever he lends his voice to something, he's awesome. He was just in Far Cry 6, which is really funny. He's always like this villain. And Faraday with his nasty ass 3 eyes in the beginning, I thought he was the top dog, but everybody has a boss. So, and everyone's, like Jerome said, is trying to move up places. And I wonder, like, nobody really is. I think it's kind of in the gray. Like, people have their motives, but it's kind of like this thing where, you're selfish in this world. Because at the same time, too, David did kill, like, an innocent woman that had a son. And, it's really sad because I think that everybody in Night City is burning the candle in both ways, and it's like with David, this addiction to follow his dreams, it killed him, and I think that whole ending was really touching. I think it was beautiful, the moon thing. I think that's where I felt like to cry, especially. But yeah, what else did you guys take away from this season?
Well, that's funny that you mentioned the addiction thing because I was thinking about the cyber psychosis thing. It's kind of like the tech that they augment themselves with is kind of like a drug in its own, because they're also like they're using those what do they call it, like immunosuppressors or something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying physically like changing their whole biology, just to either get like high or like, run faster. That's why I love Main's character too, because he kind of reminded me like Cyborg from DC. Because we saw that flashback where he was like running and stuff, and he actually like he had a memory where like he was at like the top physical peak of his life, and then in this world that isn't enough just to be naturally like strong or fast, right? You kind of have to change yourself if you want to make it in this lifestyle. um yeah, that was kind of like my take on that.
Yeah. What
How about
about
you,
you,
Jerome?
Jerome?
I mean, thinking about it, wasn't the whole reason why Ming wanted the exoskeleton is because of his past soul? Like his past soul was, if I'm believing how they was hinting at it, it was like a track star or like a runner or something. So the whole exoskeleton was so he can go as fast or faster than his previous self. That's why he was so like behind the scenes, even though he was proud of David and happy for him, he was still like, bro, you took what was supposed to be for me.
Right.
You took from me
Yeah.
that was originally mine. Like, yeah, like I'm proud of you. I'm happy that you're growing. It's sad that your mom died, but what you got in your body was supposed to be for me. That's why when he was going through a psychosis, remember in that one scene when he slapped David in the hallway, and then he went to his room and started talking to himself and having the visions of his past self. It was because he wanted to be his old self, but better. He saw his current self as a weak version, even though he had everything that he needed. He still wasn't content. So it's like, overall, the series painted the picture of how your dreams in your past can shape your future and corrupt you, because everybody had their past corrupt them in some form of way. Because nobody started out like, think about Rebecca. If I'm not mistaken, Rebecca was the short one, the Harley Quinn-esque character, guns blazing. I'm pretty sure she didn't start out being that off the wall. The world currently is constructed so you can be corrupted. Like, there's no middle ground. It's either you corrupt or you get stomped on. And that's
for her,
the intriguing part, because when you think about it, the whole ideology of the cyberpunk world is really comparable to the day. Like, it's either you see yourself become a villain at the end of the day by making questionable decisions, or you just constantly playing the moral code of toting the line, which was David's character. He was a villain in some aspects, but he was also a hero. And I just feel as though that world is a reflection of, you can be everything you want to be, but in moderation.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah, and that's the hard thing too. Is I think even a definition of insanity is trying to change something that cannot be changed, and they're constantly filling their bodies so much, but there's up to a point, right? So I can see moderation being a factor. Do you guys think that if this was in Night City, these characters were set in like a different part of the world, and perhaps that part isn't so much like Night City? Do you think there'll be so many villains and so many crazy people out there still, or do you think no matter what happens, it's just in our human nature to be this way?
I feel it also attributes. I think like Night City is like a very like westernized kind of city too. Like, I don't know if this actually takes place like in the United States or something, but I feel like Night City is kind of like an exaggerated embodiment of like what the American dream is, right? Like this kind of like corporate mega city where like everybody like there's like the kind of like the elite, have everything, and they just kind of look down on like everybody. So it's kind of like a dystopian version of like capitalism, right? like the worst of like what capitalism can produce. So that's how I understood it. So it's like Jerome said, it's like people can have dreams, like it's fine to have dreams, but it's like when you become so obsessed to the point where like you're literally changing your whole body and your personality, right? It's kind of like it becomes more of an obsession than a dream, right? Because then you're not only holding hurting yourself, but you like David was kind of like putting everybody at risk, right? Because he kept drifting in and out with the psychosis thing.
I mean, yeah, like even think about remember when Maine when he had a psychosis, how he pulled what was her name?
Was it
What was
Kiwi?
her name? When he pulled fuck what's her name?
I think
The
her
girl
name was
out the
Kiwi.
shower, I mean out the tub,
Yeah,
and
Doriel
basically
something.
beat her until damn near unconscious.
Oh,
Like
Kiwi.
think about it. Like this world is so crazy that people would change themselves but still keep the same personality. Like you can't want to be somebody else if your mental is not there. Just because your outward appearance change, if your mental is still lacking, then you're gonna constantly repeat the same process. And I feel as though like that's why I keep saying like you can contribute the way that Cyberpunk handles situations to the real world. Because think about it, we on YouTube 24/7 as content creators. We see fellow content creators start off on one path and slowly change themselves because they want to fit an image. And then when that image doesn't work, they take a turn for the worse sometimes. And is applicable to how certain characters in the series handle addiction, mental abuse, depression. Like you went through all the stages. And it's wild to see how Netflix took the approach of having Studio Trigger handle the whole mental health aspect of it. Because if you played the games, of course, mental health is always there. Like they never shied away in the games. But when you try to translate mental health into a wider audience, it's kind of like you got to toe the line because you don't want to be insensitive to somebody's mental health,
that's true.
but you also don't want to gloss over it and make light of it because we all go through it. So the fact that they made each episode after episode one hinted at some form of a mental health issue, whether it be drug addiction, depression, you name it. So if we really look at the series, you could dive in and be like, okay, this is applicable to everyday life, or I can identify with this character because of their way of thinking. And that's the beauty of it. That's why I'm rating it so high because not only is the action dope, the story dope, we all love the music, but it's the fact that I can identify with each character and why they are the way that they are. Even crazy ass little Rebecca, like we all maybe wanted to shoot somebody every once in a while. Like I'm just saying, I ain't saying we did it, but
But
we
yeah,
probably
maybe
thought about
once.
it.
Probably
Like,
once or twice. Yeah.
like shit. If I had a gun, I'd probably shoot you in your kneecap. I'm just saying.
Reasonable. It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Well,
Yeah.
Akram, I want to ask you because I know you're not like a huge anime watcher, but were there like elements of this series that you really enjoyed, especially
Yeah.
coming from the games too?
Yeah, I love like the visuals whenever he used his cybernetic part when he was going like super fast. I was shocked when Atom Smasher can do the same thing. I was like, "Oh shit." I love just those visuals. I tell you, I am actually like a fan of gore in anime. And I really enjoyed the gore here. And I think also it's not just the facial expressions that convey emotions, it's like certain set pieces and just the lighting. Although I must admit, some things that I thought were weird was more more likely like the editing. It lingered a little bit, right? It was like just staring at like some coffee cup or whatever for like a couple of seconds too longer. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but that's at least how I felt.
Yeah, World Trigger, like I've seen like some of their animated stuff because I think they did an episode of Star Wars Visions too, and that animation is kind of weird at times because it does, like you said, linger. Especially like certain dialogue scenes will be like really fluid, and then they jump to like this very like quick cutty like action sequence. So I will agree with you with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So in total, I think needless to say, the music is also really beautiful here. I think it's going to be everyone's favorite. I remember the Cyberpunk game had like amazing songs as well. So the songs were pretty good here. Were there any other highlights that you guys want to touch on before we wrap up?
I would say the cameos that they hinted at and like the little Easter eggs. Like, if I'm reading this correctly from Polygon, it said that it's its own separate like entity, separate from the game,
Okay.
but they still made reference to certain aspects of the game. Like, of course, they didn't talk about like the path of RMC from the game and stuff like that. They never referenced that, but like certain characters popped up. What else? Like the map, certain map icons,
Yeah.
the way that was set up popped up. Like even like certain key aspects of like around Night City that you're like, oh, I remember this place,
Right,
or
yeah.
oh, I remember that junkie from over there.
Yeah.
Like it popped up, and then he was like, oh, that's my junkie
There
right
you
there.
go.
Like,
Is the dude
bro.
pissing his pants?
yeah, like I ran over you with my motorcycle the other day. Like I remember you. Like it was that. Like it's the homage that, yeah, this is its own separate thing, but I'm still going to pay respect to my other properties. And not many series, well, first of all, not many series have a game universe and a movie universe, so they could add Easter eggs like that. But one of the things, like, if, like, I know y'all watch Disney and all that, they do that constantly. Like, without within they different properties, they always give like them little Easter eggs, or they give like predictions like this is what's coming up next. And I feel as though this series was a love child, but not directly saying I'm a love child to the game,
Right.
which was dope.
Right. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. And Dylan?
Yeah, I feel like it was very loyal to the game. It was a very fresh perspective. It didn't feel like just like a rehash of like you playing the game. It's like it brought like a cool character and like a cool story behind it too. Um, and as far as like anime, I think it feels like it's inspired by like a lot of great anime in the similar genre. Because I saw like so many like traces of like anime I've watched before. Like I mentioned Ghost in the Shell, but I kind of saw like like bits of like Cowboy Bebop or like Trigun, or Gundam, right? Like sprinkled in there. So it was a great kind of like homage to that genre as well. Um, and also I should mention the game too. I think for the new update, you will have David's jacket. They're gonna come out with like new outfits and like new weapons too. So I think that's pretty cool that the show kind of like has its own mark on the game as well. So it's not just like the game impacts the show. The show kind of like gives back to the fans as well.
It's good.
But I would, for my overall rating for this show, I would give it an 8. How would you guys rate it?
Yeah, Jerome.
Yeah, I would give it an 8 too. Only because, like, we talked about this off camera, but like, I was going to give it a 7 out of 10, but them last 2 episodes really pushed it. Like, the emotional impact and the depth that it went through for the characters. I'm like, okay. But then when the Adam Smasher came in, I'm like, oh, so you really that dude. Like, bro, what kind of steroid are you on? Because I need them.
Right.
But yeah, like the last, I don't want to tell y'all the ending if y'all didn't see it. But listen, y'all listening to the podcast, so clearly y'all want to get spoiled. When my sister went to the moon, man, all the thugs cried in the hood.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I was looking like, no. Because I was about to click off the video. And then I saw her. I'm like, fuck she going? Because I thought it was like some Japanese text floating across my screen. And then I'm like, wait, is she going to the moon? And then when she stepped off, I'm like, she went to the moon. Yes.
That reminded me
like,
so much of like Wally and Eva for some reason, like when they were flying in space and stuff. It was
Right.
like so
Yo,
romantic.
real shit.
Well, yeah.
Like, yo.
But
Yeah,
how about
pretty-
you, Akram?
Yeah, I would give it. I think we all agree it's kind of like an 8 out of 10 sort of thing. I think the visuals were great for the most part, and yeah, I didn't expect to feel so much for like certain characters as I did. I'm so sad that a lot of them had died. I guess the game is kind of like that as well. So I think it's, again, like Jerome said, it's a love child of Cyberpunk, which is cool because David, his mother died, and he tried to live his dreams, I guess, for her, be something, right, for himself. I think that was really beautiful. I think it was crafted really well. I wonder if one day we'll get some other spin-off in a different type of animation or something. Maybe we could get some Trauma Squad. I know they have their own comics. I wonder, or the Trauma Team. I wonder if they'll do an anime for that. But yeah, guys, this is our review. If you made it to this point of the video, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you. We love you. We always say that. We love you a lot. Please drop a like, show us some love too. Jerome, where can everyone follow you?
So you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Black Vanitas, BLVK Vanitas. Yes, don't forget, it's not black, it's BLVK.
Okay, there you go.
But yeah, you can follow me on there and stay tuned because one day these guys possibly will be on when I start my own channel. So yeah.
I hope so, right? Yeah. So Dylan, why don't you take us away?
Yes, well, thank you, Jerome, for joining us for this review for Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and thank you all for listening. Like Akram said, be sure to follow us for more content. We love to do more Netflix stuff in the future. You can follow us, of course, on YouTube, but we're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. You can follow our Instagram posts as well. We just covered D23 and Ubisoft Forward, so you can check out our reactions for that. I believe we have Handmaid's Tale coming up.
Oh yeah.
For I believe is it season 4, Akram?
Yeah, season 5. Season 5.
Season 5. I'm sorry. So yeah, we'll be covering that as well. Andor, is coming up next week for the first 3 episodes. So of course, we love our Star Wars shows. We're gonna cover that as well. We also have an Avatar Revisited episode that we're gonna do in light of the new movie coming out soon. So I can't wait for you guys to see that as well. So stick around for more content. But we love you guys as always, and thank you for having lunch with us.
See you guys.
Bro, it's like in the evening. You talking about lunch. Bro, it's dinner time.
Late dinner, whatever you would call early dinner.